Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Skura, also known as Islands in Front, and today we'll be reviewing one of my own games that I played live on stream for Ultimate Guard. And I wanted to talk about one particular game against Mono Blue Terra. This is a matchup that comes up again and again, and I don't think it's going away anytime soon. So I would like to revise it yet again, even though there are numerous videos on my channel already covering this matchup specifically. But let's get into action. So this is my review VOD, so I'll be pausing and unpausing whenever there is a decision point I want to talk about. And let's start off first with the hand we keep, right? We lost game 2, we're on the play now, we're 1-1, and we see this hand. Now, I pondered over this hand a little bit, and then I decided to mulligan this. Now, this hand is kind of okay, but it doesn't check the main box, which I've mentioned multiple times in my huge fairy guide, link in the description, where I discuss this matchup extensively. It doesn't clear a one simple bar. There is no ninja. And the importance of ninja cannot be understated. Without the ninja, this doesn't do much. So, I'm pondering over this hand. Right. Because I actually thought maybe I should keep this against my own principles. But thankfully, thankfully I kept to my own vision of how it should be, right? So I'm not just telling you stuff. And then I perform the mulligan, and then the classic happens, right? And I open a six that's unkeepable, right? And you know that because you've asked me numerous times on my Discord, link in the description, talking to me that, I mulligan and I keep mull to 5 and stuff. Yeah. What can I tell you? I have the same thing. But now I open this 5, land, 2 1-drops, bind the monster, counterspell, double ninja. And I'll give you a moment to think what you would do. You can pause the video and think about this. But my logic is that they are a Gutshot deck. They've shown me Gutshot. So the importance of keeping 2 1-drops, I think, is kind of high, or high-ish. Counterspell is an easy bottom, and I do that immediately, right? Yeah, Counterspell is an easy bottom, because we're on the play, we want to push the advantage, we can win on the board, we don't even have to have a Counterspell. So I'm not even sure I want this 2-mana spell, and now I'm pondering whether I want to bottom bind one of the ninjas, and if so, which one, and one of the 1-drops, and if so, which one. So again, I'll give you a moment to think about this, but yes, spoiler alert, this is the answer that I went for. Now, if there was a second land, I would snap keep the big ninja, because it's going to continuously attack in. And in this matchup, it's safe. So that's awesome for me. However, because of the presence of only a 1 land, I'm not risking anything. I need 2 ninja immediately, so I'm doing this. They do have a Delver, which is not that good for me, but now we have a decision point of whether you bind the monster this Delver, or before or after attacks. And again, that's another key decision point that I would like you to think what you do. And the answer for me, let's first maybe resolve the hacker, is absolutely not. And so the reason is, if you bind now, they'll just proceed with the game as normal. However, if Delver is alive and not bound, they will probably warp the game plan to flip it, right? Because we can't assume they're just going to just hope for the best. They're probably going to brainstorm or try to do some tricks to flip it. Or maybe mainly brainstorm, maybe ponder in the main phase. And so I want them to waste time setting it up for me to then bind it. There is one counter argument. So what if they hold up counterspell for it? Well, they would have to go blind flip land pass, at which point I can still go Harrier, Strix, Stab, and attack in, and they cannot keep holding up 2 mana for a counterspell. So I don't think that's a viable strategy for them either. So although, again, I'm talking about this on stream, I'm flashing this in right now because I want to have a creature resolved. I think that was my logic back then. And then they do brainstorm to set up the Delver itself. And then on stream, I'm talking about this exact thing I believe that I want them to warp their game plan towards it. And so they do flip, they show Thought Scour, they play land, and they pass. Now, you could think that there is no way that they could be holding up anything of relevance. Because if they're holding up, let's say, spell, like, what could they have? Dispel, Spell Piece, Force Spike. So if I play a land, bind is safe. So the question is, do you bind, right? That's yet another point of decision. And for me, if I bind now, I'm, let's say, wasting my highest tricks, and I can still wait for even a better, more opportune moment for that bind to hit. So I'm not playing cards because I can. I want to play my cards when they're best. And so I believe what I would do is like Strix Attack, or maybe like Off One Mind Pre-Combat, which would be, yes, exactly, okay, because there was one moment in the league where I did not Off One Mind when I wanted to. I'm glad I'm doing this now. So now that's another decision point, because we could attack and entice a block with Intruder, and then Intruder, but there is no guarantee they're going to block Hacker, and they might just smell that Intruder is coming. And in case they block, and if they block Gale Blade, I'm actually not really happy about what's going on. So I'm just going to do this, which they cannot really interact with. And we're going to smash for 3 with the trigger. We're definitely going to resolve the trigger, because Fairy Miscreant is like mid in this hand. So I'm ditching Miscreant, and I'm definitely following up with another creature, just getting onto the board. Again, that's really important. Play to the board. I see a land spell starter, and you could go, yeah, how would you play this? So again, you can think what you would do. And what I believe I did was bottom here. We'll see in the game log on the right there. I'm pondering the spell starter, but yeah, double bottom. So the reason to double bottom is spell starter is good early mid game to counter the setup and maybe their counter spell. But this is the turn where I'm tapped out, and they can either set up and play Terra, or set up and then play Terra. And then in both cases, spell starter does nothing, because if they do the setup now and Terra, they've got the Terra on the board already, and spell starter cannot counter subsequent Terras. If they just set up and then Terra, exactly the same situation. Spell starter doesn't counter anything. So while spell starter is lovely, it doesn't do anything, actually. So that's why it's a bottom. Now they keep holding this aberration, and now this is the first moment where I believe I don't have actually a good position to just attack in, right? I don't have these tricks. I don't have any cool tricks. Intruder doesn't help if they don't block Hacker. So this is the moment for me to bind. They perform a counter spell. Or they cast a counter spell, so I bind again. I attack in, and we resolve the trigger of Hacker. And now they're kind of low. So I do see spell starting. That's a kind of a decision point for my part. I'm thinking, and I in the end decide to discard Intruder, which I agree with, because I want to keep the spell, because like in this particular spot, 1 mana 1/2 flash doesn't help me with anything. If they play Terra or Terrors or something, like it has lost its potency. So spell starter is still not great, but it's better than that. So now I'm just doing the classic thing, which I've also described in the guide, which is now that they've deployed Terra, it's kind of too late, and the Terra is bound to my ninja on the board, because whenever they attack me, I will attack them back, and I've raced enough since the beginning of the game that I'm winning the damage race. But if they just keep waiting like this, I'm going to kill them in the air. And that's exactly why it's a good matchup fundamentally. And so they pass back. I could flash in spells at end step, but it doesn't change the clock because I am attacking for 3, and then I can flash in and attack for the remaining point of damage. So it doesn't change the clock at all. So I'm not flashing in. And now I feel pretty safe because Terrors don't do anything. They could slam Mystic and a spell, but then I'm still flashing 2 spell status, and that's a GG, even if it was Mystic plus Cantrip. And so this is how I win this game and this match. I beat 2 Brutares on stream back there, and despite the fact that the opponent opened with Insectile Aberration that flipped immediately on turn 2. So yeah, hopefully that was something cool to watch. I'm glad I kept it under 10 minutes, so kind of a small nugget of Fey information. And as always, please remember that you can join my public open Fairy Discord where we discuss all things Fairy, and also, again, my guide, my Metafy, with all my knowledge there in a lot of different practical but also theoretical pieces. So yeah, as always, thank you very much for watching. Please remember to hold my hand. Let's pass the turn together, and I will see you next time. Cheers. Boo!